One is for the Policies and Procedures Working Group, and the other is the Open Task and Finish Group. I'm dating these so that people can understand. So the May update for the Policies and Procedures Working Group is that we had an initial meeting, and we were furnished with links from the clerk on the current set of policies, so we could start a review of the year ahead, 2018-19, of current policies against the NAB model documents. The idea being that if there are any differences from model documents that are published by now, we would highlight those differences, so any deviations from the norm, and present to the Council in July those deviations, differences, whichever word you prefer, for you to consider the working group's recommendations, whether they should continue or whether they should be removed and effectively align us more to the standard procedures. So effectively it would then put a big tick in the box that we have reviewed all of the policies and procedures for the year ahead against the model procedures. So that's that one, and there are copies that the clerk can distribute. Yeah. And for the Task and Finish group, so it's progressing well against its original plan. Two subgroups have been created, one about collecting data and one about communication, so giving us a channel for the group. I am on both groups as the Town Council representative, so that we have a fair crack of the whip. The data team are doing a number of surveys, and the detail of which is in this document. But, and the communications team is all about the brand and establishing a website. We have communications to the public. We have an opportunity for the next two meetings to actually, as a group, to attend the meetings at the County Council office and present your ward's particular issues, or if you, as an individual, have, rural residents, have your own concerns. So it's an open session for the next two meetings. That's why we collect all of the evidence and allow us to process it to make some recommendations in the future. So there's an open invitation for everybody to attend. If you'd like to speak.
We're going to get a notification of the dates.
Yeah, the dates are on the report, but they are the 26th of June and the 12th of July, both at 6 p.m. I attended a conference representing RCC and, oddly enough, OTC about what's happening in town centres across the country. And there's some interesting messages that are being given by the by the Northern Powerhouse Minister, who came and spoke to us about the fact that town centres aren't just about shops anymore; they're about experience centres, and where people mixing housing, workshops, trying to be creative about the use of space. That's we all need to sort of start thinking about, is that a good idea? And that's kind of where we are. There's a lot going on. I've had a meeting with Anne, so that our deputy is up to speed on where we are and what's happening. So as a group, we are well represented now.
Cool.
Thank you.
Martin's got a report as well. Well, no, you go, sir. So I'll come speak in a minute. I saw your hand.
Sorry.
And I
have two. One will be brief because we've already done a lot on the neighbourhood plan.
Thank you.
And it is just basically to re-emphasise that if members could, because it is our plan, find people in the community who have a skill, because that's part of the thing. I can't claim I've got a skill, I was appointed. But they need people. It's been pointed out tonight that there isn't enough skilled people, so it could be just a skill of administration or something. It's there for the community. So if there are members who can find people who want to be involved, that would be good. And the other thing is to speak to the clerk about this walkabout, because I have failed to get anybody involved fully. Been some communication issues between me and the steering group, but there's enough people around the table that we could probably all try and do it. It's a vital part of the plan, which we're paying for, so it needs to be done. So that was the neighbourhood plan sort of report of where we need help.
Yeah. All right, I'll pick it up. So
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
And then I'll give you the finance working group report, which is a May update, and myself, Councillor Woodley and Dave Romney are members. And I just say, following on from the first meeting of the group, it was decided that an initial task was to appoint members to conduct the required reconciliation. That's myself and Councillor Woodley were appointed. And the May reconciliation has been conducted and signed off, covering transactions and petty cash. There's a procedure for conducting the reconciliation is to be documented so that it is a repeatable procedure. And I'd just like to thank the clerk for her cooperation when we came to visit her.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Peter.
Yes, a very quick one. Parish Council Forum. It's very likely that the next meeting will be cancelled. As we've heard, the local plan has been amended. It doesn't go to Cabinet for another month or so. And the next forum meeting was going to be more or less just on the local plan. So, you know...
it has been cancelled, the clerk's just said.
What was the
Well,
date?
I've sent it out an email.
Yeah.
Is that 25th of July or June?
Yeah.
you sent an email.
Yeah, say that again.
Oh, right.
25th of July.
Yes.
June, right.
Yes, we had some
Okay.
emails going back a few days ago, and that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. So, before I go to the deputations by the public, well, in fact, I know that Paul has already spoken.
Yes.
What I'm going to do is I would like to make a proposal at this point that we bring item 13, the neighbourhood planning grant paper, move that on the agenda from item 13 to be considered as the next order of business. So that will be going now, and then I'll leave it before, and then deputations of public will follow straight on afterwards. So it just gives an opportunity in case any questions come up, the two will link in. So proposal from the chair that we move it, seconded by David. Councillor Romney, all those in favour? How many hands can I see? Are you voting, Joyce, or writing on that paper?
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering where Park's reporters.
Beg your pardon, yeah, sorry.
It's up to you.
That's
It's up
what
to you.
I'm-
We'll move in 13 to number before the clerk's report. There you go.
Fine.
There you go, and it's unanimous as well.
Yeah.
So we'll do that now. So we'll look at so this is basically that paper here, which is called the Opera Grant Neighbourhood Planning. We've had groundworks. We've had the briefing at 6:30 from Paul and from Colin. Had some really good points raised. From looking at this, I mean, basically we're looking that there's 2 points that we're looking to get an outcome of, is that the clerk be authorised to instruct the open plan and that the council resolve to accept the grant offer, which is basically contained in there. Has anybody at this point got any other questions or questions or queries? Because at this point, I'll let them come up, and Paul, if I probably won't be able to answer them, but this is where I'll happily let you engage. Martin.
It's just a request that I don't have any problem on item 2 for the grant, but I want it to be made clear until we know if I'm going to support this, what the additional costs are. That part 1 is only to authorise what has been put on the table tonight.
Okay, and the additional cost we get confirmed.
And then anything further comes back to council.
Fine.
Because we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Terms of reference don't allow us to spend budget.
Yes, totally.
No. So if it's made clear that it's only for what has been quoted this evening.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other points, Daniel?
You briefly touched on it with Councillor Woodley. What you were saying about the amount of houses that are going up, obviously over the next 10 years in St George's Barracks, that's getting factored into what's going on.
As part of the local plan, yes.
Yeah.
How it affects the neighbourhood plan is another question.
That's what I'm wondering, because if we're doubling up on this, is are they going to class those houses as in the bank? Because obviously what Rutland County Council said is that we aim for 160 houses a year to keep up with the rest of the country, which is fair enough. But if other plans are already in place for other developers, we're going to be drastically over that. So that 20-25% in the population density of the county is going to raise exponentially. If that's not the case, and you're holding back some of the developers' sort of projects because we're already filling in the numbers from there, is that not a monopoly on what's going on around the area?
So the actual allocation of housing is all part of the local plan in RCC's gift. Our contribution to that as part of the neighbourhood plan is more about the styles of housing, preferences for where we'd like to see them. So they've done call for sites, allocated sites already. We're not planning to change that at the minute. We've got no reason to start identifying other sites, although there's lots of planners and landowners who'd like us to, because of the cost involved in that is quite steep. So we wouldn't envisage doing anything like that. So really, that element of it is in RCC's control.
Right.
And you know, out of that, they may end up saying, well, we're going to do it all at St George's Barracks, or they may say we're going to split it. I don't know what's going to happen. The government might turn around and say, actually, we're going to increase the amount we're going to do, and therefore we just got to.
My understanding is that the county council do not plan to build more than the quota they have to do. So if they build extra houses, if they build a house at St George, it means there'll be less built in Oakham. That was mentioned earlier on. The St George's thing is not really part of our remit as such. The main thing is what is the neighbourhood plan for here. So no, it shouldn't impact that. In fact, if anything, St George's may help us here.
Yes, it does.
I was wondering about that obviously because with Rutland County Council, it's a county sort of level, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a county quota, but they won't exceed their county quota. So any other points or questions? Otherwise, I'm looking for a proposal to. We can take it on block that 1 and 2 of item 13 are accepted. Anybody want to propose that? If not, I'll propose it from the. Oh, Peter propose it. Seconded by Daniel. All those in favour? So we've got 1, 2. That looks like unanimous. So that's 13 is unanimous. And obviously we've got the note made that before any more money is spent, it'll come back to council. Martin, don't worry about that. We'll make sure that.
So we set the grant for 4,500 on
that paper.
on this.
Yes.
Of what they agreed to do.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
And obviously that bit there covered as well. But obviously any additional
It will
expenditure
be, yeah,
comes
that's
back.
fine. Okay.
So that'll come out, and that's it really. So you can hang around for the rest of the night, Paul. We're looking to co-ops at some point. Thank you for your time.
Planting is a fascinating.
And he says, thanks for
I'm dancing.
Yes, absolutely right. Thank you. Right, so now we'll just see. Is there a class report?
There's no councillors' questions.
No,
And I've just got something to say.
Okay, right, let's back in the room then. We'll go to the clerk's report. There's no formal report, but the clerk would just like to make a comment.
The work in Cuts Close for the path and the barrier is due to start on the 27th of June. 27th of June.
27th of June.
That was the only day that we could get the barrier people, the path people to start, and archaeological.
Yeah.
Sifting. How long will that? Sorry, Chairman. How long will that take?
Initially, the quote said it would take up to 2 weeks.
Thank
It
you.
may be quicker. So, am I taking questions on the clerk's report now? Nick?
No, it's
On that,
only.
I'm sorry. Do we issue a communication? Or is it
I think
just a
that's a good idea. We probably should do something in
Because
paper.
I get
It's
asked a lot.
It's
by
on the
people,
web.
residents.
We put it on the web page.
We might look at putting something in paper. Do you think we should put something in paper?
I think lots of people are very interested in the improvement, and I think it's good PR.
the first turf or something.
Yeah, first third. Right. What I'll do is I'll have a word with the editor and probably do a letter. Actually, that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go around. I'll come to
It's
you.
on our web page.
Yeah. Somehow we will get it in and out there. Peter.
Yes, there's been quite a delay. Are they standing by the quote?
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Last thing from me on it. Well, this last was.
No, you're last.
When we brought this first to council, there was the talk of closing the footpath and requiring a closure notice. I've not seen any notice.
It's not a public right of way.
No,
written one.
So there's effects that it does cross the public right of way. We're not going to be like getting in a situation where we had with the circus.
We've
The piece that goes down past the old school cross.
yeah, with you. We've spoken to RCC, have been involved with this all the way along. The path that goes all the way across, in actual fact, most of the paths, the main one from the odd house up, that is classed as a public right of way, but the other one isn't. So we haven't got to apply. However, Cowmans have already said that they will manage the footpath and make sure that it's made safe, and they're going to do it in sections.
Right.
So they'll cordon it off and put like guidance round. We've got the benefit at the moment, this month, when they started, it's brilliantly dry. When the circus were in town, it was soddy wet, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it has all been looked at, and apparently we're abiding by regs, and RCC have been involved all
So
the
we
way along.
won't be closing that main footpath.
No. Joyce.
Can I just make a suggestion that there's notices on the lampposts down there just to say this will be closed by
Yeah, we can do that.
on whatever day for how long.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do it like RCC do it and extend the time so in case it doesn't finish
Okay.
in 2 weeks,
Yes.
if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Sally-Ann?
I just want to, because we've already spoken about this, Alison, did you speak to them about possibly starting at the park end?
No, when are you meeting them?
I'm meeting them on the Monday. So I'll ask them where they want to start. I would imagine that if I was the contractor, they're going to start at one end and go that way towards Burley Road, because that way all the rubbish goes with them.
Yes.
So you don't start at this end and have to traipse all the rubbish over the work you've done. You with me?
Yeah.
So so that's what I'll say to them.
What?
Right?
Very tempted to start.
I would think they will be starting at the Church Street side and then working
Right.
back across to Brook,
Going that.
Burley Road.
Because I did bring it up with Alison
Yeah, I
that
spoke
we've
to
got
them
the
about
Armed
it.
Forces Day,
Yeah.
and I don't really want all that.
They won't be working at the weekend, and because they're doing it in sections, and this is what I'll iron out with them on Monday. Once they've done a little bit, it'll either be fenced off or secured in a way that it's as tidy as possible.
Okay.
We have to be careful, by the way, on Armed Forces Day, that from where the skate park is, along the fence line to the car park on Burley Way, there's a sewer drain underneath there, so we need to make sure that heavy vehicles don't go too near the fence line, because we've already got damage on that sewer,
Yes.
open sewer. All right? Right, let's move on, because
That's
we're
fine.
at 25 past and we haven't
It's
done.
13.
Good.
Item 7, deputations by the public. Well, we've done all that and they've all left. Item 8 is to receive written and verbal reports and to approve any expenditure from working steering group. So
There's one from
there's nothing from the neighbourhood plan steering group, is there?
Because we haven't met yet, I just get
Brilliant.
my-
Paul's got something.
Right, there's and Sally Ann has something. So we'll go to Paul first, Christmas working, because we've not heard from Paul this evening. Hello, Paul.
Okay, first of all, apologies
Oh, you leaving?
that we've not been in touch we did earlier about the state of play with this project. We did contact 4 firms fairly early. Only 3 responded, 2 of those rather late, and in fact I've just received the final quotation with visual representations yesterday morning. So sorry about that, but it's their fault rather than ours. But however, we're ready to go. That's providing it's voted by the council on the 11th of July, if possible. We met with all of the representatives at least once. We took a trip around the town, saw the installations we have, if they didn't already know them. And in the meeting with them, we made it clear that the budget was sacrosanct. They couldn't go above that budget. Any plan had to be within it. They had to comply with the height regulations above the carriageway, but they all seem to know that anyway. That's fine. But also we wanted a whole package. That's setting up, taking down, testing, switching on the insurance, standby for repairs and storage, rather than bits and pieces of a plan. During the meeting we did say, with regard to the decorations, we'd like something fairly eye-catching this year, something maybe colourful, I think, Sally Ann, wasn't it? And also maybe stuff with some movement to it, and I put twinkling rather than flashing. A little
Choice of words.
yeah, there are going to be computer-generated images available. one of the other things we would like to do is to replace the fresh tree with a fully lit up, decorated cone structure to form a bright focal point of the whole display. Plus the usual things, strings across the main road, lamppost decorations, something in the market square, a few ancillary things like trees and that have been mooted by one or two councillors, but you could look at it. The timetable that I think would be useful, if the working group could convene a meeting in the next 2 weeks, we could go through all of the quotations we have and the breakdown of costs, and perhaps get the pros and cons of each one to save a bit of time, and we bring that information plus all the information, visuals, everything to council on the 11th of July. Possibly if we could vote on either accepting one of the bids or none of them, whichever you think, or part of one maybe, that would be good, because I've heard from 2 sources now that they are actually ordering their Christmas decorations in from Europe now.
Yes.
So we don't want to be at the bottom of the barrel. Again, I was thinking, if there's a 3-year contract, there is provision for some change year on year, maybe the theme, the colour, whatever. Some sort of change, so we don't have the same things 3 years running. That's about it really. So as I said, we'll bring all the information to you on the 11th if we can arrange that.
Yep.
Any comments?
Just what Paul just added. With the CGI mock-up we've had from one of the companies, once we get the other ones through, if they actually do want to send them through, I'll try and form a presentation and put them up here and get them on PowerPoint to try and thread it across the board.
Yeah.
Well done.
Just thank the working group for what they've done. But one thing that jumped out, and I'm a bit concerned we might end up like Stanford, was the cone Christmas rather than the tree, because Stanford had to very quickly remove their cone and put a traditional Christmas tree because people were outraged, and they said the market town shouldn't have these modern cones. I don't mind it too much if it looks nice, but I
think we should save this for the 11th. We're not debating the Christmas decorations tonight. In fact, we shouldn't really be debating reports. But Nick.
Could I propose, Chairman, that the working group who've done a sterling job, if we could have one of those pre-meetings for this, rather than it be in the full council meeting and not give it fair airing.
Do you want it on the 11th?
It's over to you to drive.
I was just thinking that the 11th might be the best time if we're going to be discussing that evening. Yeah? 11th at 6 or 6:30?
What time?
6:30?
Yeah, I don't know how much time.
Okay. 6:30, right. Sally-Ann, did you want to say anything? No, because you've got your own report. Joyce?
Can I just congratulate them, the working party, because they're now what I call ahead of schedule. We've always been scrambling around at the last minute trying to get something sorted, so thank you very much indeed.
Okay, cool. Daniel, were you going to come back and say something constructive?
We're not talking about the Christmas thing now, are we?
No, I don't want to go into detail. We're not solutionising, basically. But and also, aren't you part of that group?
Yes.
Speak to him later.
I was going to respond to Martin.
Sally-Ann.
I just want to refer to the report that I've sent out to everybody. The 17th of June, the band had cancelled. We have got a replacement. It's called Clare and Company. Thanks to Jean, but I'm not 100% certain what they're going to bring us.
Cool.
So it could be a very big surprise for all of us.
It's Jean on the drums and Paul in Bragg on the flute.
That's it. And I have also heard that Oakham Town Partnership have now decided that they're not going to have the late night shopping on the 3rd. They're changing it to the 9th.
No, they're changing it to the 10th.
10th. Yes, I've written 10th there. I'm looking at something.
Yeah, I've made a note of that because I saw that on here. Yes. Came from an email the other day.
Yeah, so we might have to think about the 9th of December again and maybe change
maybe do
the
that,
date
what you
or
did on the
something.
9th, do it on the 10th.
Or we might do it on the 3rd.
Let us know.
See what's there.
But we'll sort that out in a meeting.
Or do it in Uppingham. Right, okay. Thank you very much.
That's okay?
Statement of accounts.
Yeah, statement of accounts, and that's all of the. Right, number 9 is statement of accounts. Decide whether everybody looked at the statement of accounts. Any questions or
Do you want to do
observations?
them together?
Statement of accounts.
Which is the budget.
Yeah, all right. Decide whether to approve the statement of accounts and members to consider the financial budget together. Yeah, Sally Ann.
I see we took out some money for flags. Have we got a list of what flags are there? I'm assuming they're the flags for the bandstand. Have we got a list of what flags we've got and
There's a
when
box.
they
There's
are?
a box. From memory, Sarah's missing 3. The company that produced them for us that are really. Yes, I have got a list. It's on there. Yeah, I was just thinking.
There's
that.
a list, yeah.
I can. Do you want
Do you
I'll
want
send
it?
it over to you
Yeah,
tomorrow.
so we just know what's going on.
There's 3 missing, which she's looking to get.
Okay. The only other thing is the removal of the bunting. We've had to pay Paul Ford £450, but we've also paid Greg's to remove the broken ones was £40. It just seems a bit. Since most of them had fallen down, I think £450 is a lot of money.
That was
Health and safety.
that included VAT, so that's why, which we get back. When the quote was passed through council to put up and put down. Jeff unfortunately doesn't have the facility now to get them down, whereas he did in the past.
Yeah.
But what the £40 was on 2 separate occasions. Well, actually, he went out 3 times, but he didn't charge us for one, and that was when it was down near Barclays. One was near Lloyd's, and the other one was at the Market Square.
So there was a requirement for the clerk to get somebody out.
I think it was 350 because it had the VAT on.
And then because of the decision of it keep falling down, that's when the council resolved to remove it completely.
Quickly, yeah.
So if there's no other points on item 9, looking for a proposal for Martin, is that a question or a proposal?
It's a proposal from, as a member of the finance working group, I think it's appropriate.
Oh yeah, cool, yeah, thank you. So this is both for 1 and 2 of 9, so proposed by Martin, seconded by Nick, who are you on the finance working group? All those in favour? That's unanimous as well, so that's 9 is done. Now then, appointment of internal auditor. This was after we brought back, or deferred to this meeting, so I don't think there's a requirement to suspend the standing orders
No,
here.
because it was deferred.
Because it was deferred. So, any comments or observations? Martin?
Yeah, the only thing is, as a member of the group, we decided, which is the recommendation from the external auditors, that possibly that this is the last year we appoint this gentleman because it shouldn't be more than 3 years. So
Okay.
we'd like that to be minuted, that we start looking for a new one.
Okay. Who does that? Do you do that, or does the clerk do that, Alice?
Or I can do.
There's a list that the clerks
Okay.
have, isn't there?
We can certainly do that. So so the proposal on, there's a recommendation then, looking for someone to propose that the recommendation is that proposed by Nick that we appoint the auditor as per the paper, seconded by David, Councillor Romney. All those in favour? That's unanimous, so that is that way. And it's minuted that the clerk will look for maybe a different internal auditor for the next 3-year period, which would be from 2019-20 onwards, yeah?
That'll be brought back in the May meeting.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh, May 2019.
When we have the annual meeting.
Yeah, May 2019.
Yeah.
11, this is a service contract for hoist sited at Church Street public toilets. Has anybody got any questions or observations? Basically, this has not been, I don't think this has been serviced or looked after, and this has been identified as a gap by the clerk, and we have to show due diligence in making sure the equipment is serviced.
Yearly.
Anybody got any comments or observations, Nick?
Chairman, I see we've had to pay out anyway, so, for maintenance, so it's a logical step forward as we have to provide these facilities.
Okay, so should we take it on block that there's a proposal, the council agrees to the service contract to authorise the expenditure and the clerk be authorised to sign the contract on behalf of the council? Are you proposing that, Martin? Seconded by Jean?
Are we doing it on block?
Yeah, do it on block because everyone's read it. So proposed by Martin, seconded by Jean. All those in favour? That's unanimous as well. And appreciation to the clerk for actually spotting this gap, because heaven forbid that it would have failed. Item 12 is a pretty comprehensive paper. It was just an idea that had to sort of help finalise the commemoration period, which ends in 2018, and it was just raising a bench and hopefully an information plaque up on the Tresham land and tidying up the memorial that's there to Mr. Gibson. Any comments or observations? Nick?
It's a worthy paper, Chairman. I just was wondering, what would you do if you failed to raise support? Would you consider?
I am confident I'll be able to raise funds without having to come to the council.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. In that fact, it was the Lord Lieutenant that was sort of saying, go speak to people. She's very adamant that lots of organisations would want to support this, and I think she's very correct in this. Martin?
Yeah, it wasn't me, but someone, a member of the public, pointed it out to me when I showed them the picture of the bench. Can we ensure when the sighting of it is not under a tree or by somewhere where young people can climb up, because it's got quite jagged, spiky people out the top?
Okay. We don't want any bayoneting, basically, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So if you just put somewhere a bit open, so people will then be able to see it as well.
Yeah, okay.
If you do want.
Joyce?
Having viewed this seat in the flesh, as you were last Thursday at another market town, it's a wonderful idea. I think it's great. But we do, I'm sorry to say, to actually engage in conversations, you do need to have 2 seats. And this market town had got 2 seats where you could sit and engage with other people.
Yeah.
I have shown you the photograph of the 2nd seat, which commemorates the 2nd World War, and it looked very good, very stable, and very nice. So, although it's a centennial field, I feel that we should commemorate, particularly my uncle who died in the 2nd World War.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, thank you for that, Joyce.
I really do think that ought to be 2. So.
No, that's, well, I'm looking, depending on how, once I've got some, once I've gone out and tried to sort some funding, I'll come back and let you know what's what. So,
just noted there.
what the bench thing is, because I'm looking to get more than 1 bench anyway. So Daniel was going to make a comment.
Just on that one, if I'm thinking of me being sat on a bench, if I'm in the middle of the centenary field and I'm sat on a bench, I'm there for quiet contemplation, to be honest. I don't think I'd want another person there to be sat on another seat and chatting to me.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
that's just the way I see it.
No, that's fine. Martin?
I agree with the councillor there, but also the comment that it's to commemorate somebody's uncle. If the councillor wants something to commemorate their uncle, then perhaps they should.
I don't think Joyce was asking it. I don't think Joyce was asking it was specifically named. So, right, Sally Ann.
Can I just you've put in here doing a litter picking team, clearing out the woods, whatever.
Yeah, I'll get you some gloves.
Can I suggest you approach the guides?
I was going to do that
because I've spoken to them today and they want to get involved more with a lot more things that are happening in the town.
Yeah, brilliant. I did a talk, I did a presentation to the Brownies for the Royal British Legion 12 months ago, and it was actually that organisation, youth organisations, and the guides and the Brownies don't seem to get invited in. So yes, I like that. That's what I'm going to do anyway. So okay. So if there's no other observations or comments, are you happy that this is taken on block because there's no expense to the council?
Yeah.
So looking for a proposer for this paper, which is Sally Ann, seconded by Martin. Thank you. All those in favour? Unanimous? Because I've got your text, Nick. It said yes. I've got it. Sorry. That's all right. It was unanimous, wasn't it? You were voting yes, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you need some time out?
No.
Okay. Well, that's the centenary film. We've done 13, so we're going on to 14, which is representation. This is a deferred item. We've now had the constitutions come back from both organisations. Is there any comments or observations? I found this quite enlightening, Martin.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with the fact that obviously we're underrepresented on these things. And I note that the clerk has supplied a letter where the council decided, now in particular with the trustees of Victoria Hall, that is a legal deed which is available on the Charity Commission website. And just because the council voted in whenever it was, I haven't got the paper open, that we don't want to send anybody, that doesn't mean that that should apply today. We are supposed to appoint that number of people.
I think we've struggled to get willing volunteers.
I know, but we need more than one, and I think they would actually appreciate it if we could get one or two, the people who are going to actually do something and actually stay on it and be a proper trustee for the 4-year period.
Okay. A valid point. We've only got 1 year left though. Paul?
Yeah, it's just a bit of advice really. Martin was saying that we can't seem to get enough people to get a representative of so many different committees now. Is there any provision for increasing the number of councillors on this council from 12 to I don't know,
15 would be like what Uppingham have done. Yeah, Uppingham only used to be 12 and they increased it. However, that's not what we're discussing tonight.
No,
but yes, it's a good point, and that could be something that this council may want to do.
Yeah.
We've been struggling to fill 12 seats ourselves.
Yes. It was 15 and it was reduced to 12.
Yes, it was originally 15.
I was on the council at the time.
Oh.
Yes. So anyway, well, are there any willing volunteers for? We'll take them one at a time. So we'll go for the Victoria Hall. Anybody interested? I mean, I'll do it.
I was going to propose you.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sorry. I thought you were looking for a proposal.
Well, as I said, if nobody was going to do Joyce has proposed, Adam. Anybody? Oh, that was keen. That was quick, wasn't it? So it's proposed by Joyce. Flo was provided, and seconded by Dave White. All those in favour?
Are we appointing anyone else?
Yeah, well, we're going to come to that. That's unanimous. So certainly, councillor. Anybody else interested in going on it? I'm going to ask if anybody wants to go on it. Anybody else? Will you volunteer? What I'll do is when I go to the first meeting, I'll sound out and sort of see what they want to do on that, because it is about getting people interested. Daniel?
Sorry, I actually don't know what that entails, but if somebody can speak to you either afterwards or during then, I'll look into it.
I'll find out and I'll come back to you and let you know. Yeah, okay.
To save time, could we not appoint Daniel, and if he doesn't want it, because he doesn't like what it is, then he can just drop that.
Proposed by Councillor Brooks is Councillor Bottomley, who's a willing volunteer.
It's only a meeting with
seconded by Councillor Woodley. All those in favour? Unanimous. So there's 2 councillors for the Victoria. The Memorial Institute. In actual fact, I was on the Memorial Institute last year, and I was happy to stay on it. So and I was happy with their constitution, so I'm happy to stay on.
Proposed.
Unless anybody else, but it's been proposed by.
I think on there we could do with 2.
I'll ask them as well.
Because they have had 2 before, but at one time it was myself and Vince Howard.
Yes, and then that was not so long ago. So Councillor Lucas, actually it was Jean that seconded it. So all those in favour? That's unanimous as well. We won't force you onto that one, Daniel, don't we? So we'll consider items sorted now, and I'll give some feedback on this trustee thing, because I think it is. I mean, even the trustees of the Victoria Hall are looking for permanent members as well. Anyway, so they're struggling to get regular members, as they call it. Right. Moving on to item 15 is because we're going to be discussing an item which had previously come up and the council chose not to consider it. I need to look to suspend Standing Order 28 because we're going to revisit the Schoolthorpe Road thing.
Yeah.
So it was Nick's proposed it, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? Yeah, that's unanimous then. Basically, I think we missed the trick on this, and I'll lead this one partly because I actually went down and saw the resident, because funny enough he's on my ward as a county councillor, which is why I went down. He's also on the ward of Martin, isn't it? Are you on South East?
Yes, and Jean.
Yeah, Jean.
I've been down this road several times, not just to see what the situation is really, because I was curious really as to what it actually was.
Well, when I went to see the guy, he gave me a document. He showed me his slide deck, which I've just put up on the screen here. and all I've done is I've captured it, and I thought rather a picture says 1,000 words. It was actually quite a long slide deck, so I've tried to condense it down. But basically on Skullthorpe Road, the issue is, this is the entrance to Skullthorpe Road. It's only 5.5 metres wide. It's classed as a dangerous junction in the opinion of the residents because it's due to 3 access driveways and a pedestrian cycleway. So this is the main road from Stamford, coming up Stamford Road. That's the entrance there. And as you pull in there, you've got pedestrian, you've got cycleways here, you've got a service road, all within 25 yards of the entrance, and then just here you've even got an entrance to one of the residents' own driveways there, which is why they're concerned about it.
That's about 4 houses, but it's one of those dreadful.
Yes, there's 4 on the left and 4 on the right. Yeah. Then as you go in, you've got a speed hump. The white lines are just as guidance; they're not legally binding. So people, there's no yellow lines here; it's all just white lines. And it's a narrow road, and as you see, when a van is parked there, this is the person's drive, as you can see by the drop curb. When it's parked there, then vehicles coming this way can't see, and you've got vehicles pulling in. Or when they swerve into this road, the residents saying they then have to pull out to go around the vehicles. What happens here on the opposite side, they've got 2 vehicles. This one's actually parked opposite the driveway, so this vehicle here is actually well within sort of 25 yards of that, what they perceive as this dangerous junction, because it's coming off the A606. And this illustrates where, because this person's parked here, the person that's trying to get into their drive, they can't reverse out.
Go back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different car, that black one is.
That's why I was going mad.
Yeah, no, it's just moving on its own. What it is also said, as you go over this speed hump, what is it? Some people come and park here because they're going to the children's play area on the right, so that's there. This vehicle here is opposite an entrance, and because it's only 5.5 metres wide, they're saying they struggle. And you can see that as more and more vehicles turn up, some are parking half on the pavement because there's no restrictions at all, and there's a van here which is parked on the pavement. This is very common. So this is what the residents are not very happy about. So this is a bird's eye view, an overview of, this is the road that we just looked at. You can see the yellow lines here. This is where the speed hump is, and this is where the play area. You can see there's no other yellow lines or restrictions in this area, the Skullthorpe Close area. And yet on Edmonton Way, where they had similar issues and reported it to the County Council, the County Council put double yellow lines all the way down to this point and then made all the other areas resident parking.
Yeah.
So what it's done, it's moved all the people who were parking here, all it's done, it's moved the problem further down into Skullthorpe Close, which is why the Skullthorpe residents feel aggrieved. This road here is also slightly wider than theirs because it was built in the 70s.
Yeah.
There's some various things there. Look, Edmonton Way is 6.1 metres wide, theirs is 5.5. Edmonton Way's only got 4 driveways in the first 50 yards. These have got 11 driveways, and it's when I read this and saw what the residents and the amount of work they'd put into their concerns, it compelled me to sort of want to bring it back to council. This is the residents that objected. They've obviously all signed a petition, which means that they have given their permission for their details to be shown on here. So that's their signatures, written in simple things. So that's a high percentage of the people that live down there that want to raise concerns. Now, the circumstances have changed slightly. The residents are looking for Oakham Town Council to acknowledge and identify their concerns are genuine. How the policy works at Rutland County Council, if the residents say that they've got a parking issue and they want the council to do something, like we want yellow lines or we want permits, the county council policy is, and I only learnt this out myself really in the last year or so, is that the county council say to the residents, you have to get the backing of your parish council. And that's when this paper came to us before and we didn't get it, and unfortunately we missed a trick. We partly failed our residents, I think, there, because we should have been able to make a decision on what they'd said, but maybe they hadn't presented it as well as this. It wasn't presented at all well, was it? So what they're looking for us on this meeting is for this council to acknowledge that there are genuine concerns, so we share their concerns that they've demonstrated in this slide deck, and then to sort of say to the Rutland County Council with a letter which we will send off to the highways people via the clerk saying, we've seen the deputation by the residents, yes, it's all on this.
To fill this out.
Yes, this form which you've got a copy of in your packs. Yeah. But what it is now is that the residents have actually, rather than sort of said they want something to do, they specified they want double yellow lines on Skullthorpe Close. All we've got to decide is A, do we support the residents' concerns? Do we identify with them? Do we recognise their concerns? B, are we going to sign the letter and send it back saying that we support their application for double yellow lines? And the third thing is, do we want to give any money to Rutland County Council to do it?
No.
Any questions or observations? Right, so I'll take questions from the floor. Nick?
The proposal says double yellow lines on Sculthorpe Close, which to me would push the parking problem back into where the park is, which isn't Sculthorpe.
So that's Sculthorpe Close,
So
and then you've got Pilton Close, and you've got the children.
Yeah.
So does it need...
Does that cover that?
Resident parking.
Or is that, as you say, similar to what Edmonton Way?
Yeah.
Are they not just going to shove the cars up outside
Yeah.
people's houses?
Possibly, possibly.
So just because those 11 at the bottom don't like it, are they now making neighbourhood
Well,
issues?
they've consulted all of their neighbours, so all of the neighbours have gone with this.
I can't see that from that paper.
No. But so we could sort of say we support it, but would ask that the county council, double yellow lines, Sculthorpe Close and Pilton Close.
And
the children. And I don't know what the children's play area is called. I don't know if it's called.
It's only tiny.
It's only tiny, right?
Well, yeah, but that's
okay. But it's a good point. Yeah, so we could make a note of that the yellow line should prevent people from just pushing it down into Pilton Close.
Or could it be not resident parking only, so that we haven't got yellow lines everywhere in this town?
Could be.
Just like Edmonton.
But the paper, unfortunately, the paper here they've specified double yellow lines.
Oh well, if they want yellow lines.
I'm going to come down. I think Daniel had your hand up as well, didn't you? No.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been down there 5 times now, Mr. Chairman. Different times of day, just to make sure I've got a good...
In your car or walking?
Yes, in my car. Yeah. I parked and then did a 360 in another place. It was great. I never saw another car parked anywhere on there.
Right.
This to me seems a bit...
OTT.
Yeah, it's a bit NIMBY in my eyes, because there's so many other places in this town that have a lot worse traffic problems.
Right.
I mean, Graffham Drive is just as bad. Westfield Road is atrocious. You can barely get down there as well. So I think that is actually not an issue. Plus, you're not even allowed to park that close to a junction anyway. So can you not just task the traffic wardens to go and have the butchers down there?
The traffic wardens do not enforce that regulation.
No.
You don't have to. No, they have civil enforcement officers at Rutland County Council, and they enforce the yellow line and the parking zones. They do not enforce what is a highways offence.
Right. Okay.
And the police do not enforce parking issues in the town either. Leicestershire Police chose to do that 6 or 7 years ago, which is why we now have civil enforcement.
But then I don't see that falls within our remit. We should just be able to shut that off. There's so many other places I just don't agree with the amount of money that's been spent around there. I mean, I would rather save that money and put it somewhere it's needed.
Well, it's not happening.
If we were going to ask to contribute,
yeah.
I'd say no.
Oh, we don't have to pay. No, we don't have to. We can ask that they put some parking controls in there, do yellow lines, but we're not going to pay for it.
Yeah, if they want to do that, that's fair enough their area, but we shouldn't have any part of paying with it while there's other more.
I mean, obviously, we're only going on the evidence that they provided at the time. Sometimes when I went down there was no vehicles, and other times there were. So.
Well, the last one I went down was at 18:30 this evening. Okay. There was nothing.
No, but RCC are closed.
Right. No. So I'm going to come to Jean, then I'll come to you, Martin. Jean.
I too have been down there on more than one occasion. Following the last report actually, and I never saw any other vehicle there whatsoever. I find it odd that they're saying that people are parking there to go to the children's play area, which
and
is
walk their dogs.
Yeah, and it's very tiny. Personally, I don't support it. I don't think there's a huge problem.
I shouldn't mention this now, but I believe there might be a paper coming to this council about, is there a play area going down off Sculthorpe Close, a bigger one on that green area? I think that's the area, isn't there, off Stamford Road? I think there might be another play, but we'll disregard that, but we've captured your comments. Martin?
Yeah, I'm rather pleased that it's come to council properly in the end, because we've not been consulted as ward members. So, it would have been nice if we were consulted when it originally came to council, despite me emailing the ward member who brought this from Rutland County Council, who has never responded to me. But I see it...
Councillor Callaghan?
Yes. I personally see this as just keep moving the problem on. There had been times, because I've leafleted for various reasons that area, and I know it all very well, and I have at times seen people, I'm not saying you're wrong, but you can go down there and it's clear.
Yeah.
If we all went down there now, there probably wouldn't be any, but they they've done the same in Vicarage Road,
Yes.
and they've moved the problem into the road where I live.
Yeah.
You know, it's residents, double yellow lines at the beginning and residents permits, so they all come round into Woodland View, Willow Crescent.
I
So the council, and we've said it many times before, and I don't know if it was passed on, that we've asked that Rutland County Council review all their parking policies, and I think it was brought up at a parish forum once that they need to look into it. It's no good just keep painting, but the yellow lines actually look horrible
Yes, they
in these estates now. I don't see it in any other town, unless it's a city. You know, we're a market town and we're getting plastered with yellow lines. I appreciate they have a problem, you know, but it's a difficult one. Nobody spoke to me or anything.
Well, the paper did come up in.
But it wasn't done properly.
Right, okay.
So
All right.
now it's been done properly, and I appreciate that, but I still would have liked to have known a bit more, and also the fact that Rutland County Council don't seem to be
Quite a lot on that.
dealing with the issue. All they're doing eventually will have a whole town that look like on Google Earth a mesh of yellow lines. I think.
Right, Joyce.
The same things happen down Cricket Lawns, and I'd like it minuted, or I will say, I told you so. It will be down Spinney Hill next. And it all encompasses round Rutland County Council offices, the whole lot. We've had them parking in the parking bay on Welland Way and walking in. You know, it's an issue in this town to have that building full of office workers that have nowhere to park. Put them, I would say, up at the, what is it called, Enterprise Park. That's where that office block needs to be, out of this town.
I believe that the Spinney Hill, that's the thing off Uppingham Road, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I believe in actual fact when they did that, I think they preempted the situation and already put resident parking up there.
Have they?
I believe there's, because I found this when I went through my leaflet block, I couldn't park anywhere. So,
yeah.
Any other comments or observations? Because I'll take.
Move them to Ashwell Prison.
So, that's not on the. That's not on the.
Yes, please. I would say that obviously this has come from Sculthorpe Close, but on the petition there was only one resident, if I were correct, from Hilton Close.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
We've got some from Stamford Road, which are the ones from Stamford Road, and Sculthorpe Close, Hilton, right, let's have a look. So just to make you aware that the houses that are across here, which are either side of the drive, are classed as Stamford Road. So it's not from here, it is, so houses to the left and houses to the right are classed as Stamford Road, and Sculthorpe Close obviously speaks for itself, and there's only one from Pilton Close. So Pilton Close obviously don't feel it, because the people are parking there.
Not yet.
So, not yet, no. But the thing is, we've had everything said, so taking the agenda item 16, it's to consider double yellow lines to be implemented in Sculthorpe Close and to confirm whether the Town Council are in support of the proposal, or are we in support of a proposal where some other kind of maybe resident permits, which are less yellow liney, are done? Yeah?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yes, Chairman, I'm concerned about residents' permits because what will happen is you'll still get the parking. I don't see that achieves anything. Cricket Lawns has been mentioned. That's residents parking 10 till 4.
Yeah.
And
so you can park anyway, can't you?
Really, what it's doing is, as has been mentioned, it's stopping the workers in town parking all day. So it has an effect there, which is good, but residents parking per se doesn't do anything. You still park anywhere. You just pay for your permit and you've done it.
Okay, well what we'll do is we'll take the paper as read then, we won't make any adjustments. So looking for a proposal which is proposal 16I to consider double yellow lines to be implemented in Sculthorpe Close and to confirm whether the Town Council are in support of the proposal, which is basically that document. So anybody care to propose that? I'll propose it from the chair if nobody will propose it. Proposed by the chairman, Councillor Lowe. Looking for a seconder? Oh, seconded by Councillor Romney. All those in favour, show of hands. This is supporting your residents, I'll just say that. 1, 2. That's all right, just make you aware, so yes, for the benefit of the tape. That's 2 for. That's 2 in favour. All those against? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 against. So that means that won't. So we don't have to consider whether we're willing to pay for it, don't we?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Oh.
So my laptop.
I think I explained to my residents.
So that basically that
Just move
falls then basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
so
will.
I can answer this tomorrow by
You-
saying that we're not in. That
Yeah. So that the town council
does not support it.
have not supported the application.
Number 17.
Good. Yes, I have in my handbag.
Right, item 17. Is this one for you,
That's me.
Sam?
It is. Basically, I'd like to get some permission to get some leaflets made to advertise the final band concert, which we're trying to encourage local bands to come and perform, but we need to promote it big time.
Big time.
So we'd like to have some A5 leaflets so we can advertise our Rutland Has Talent.
Okay.
And how's it going to be distributed? Sorry.
Oh no, that's no. Well, we're looking for questions. First question from Councillor Lucas: how are you going to distribute them, Sally?
Wherever they have leaflets, I'll
My
stick
hands.
them in. In the local pubs, clubs. Well, clubs.
You're not going to do a
Pubs.
house drop.
No.
You're going to have them in the Vicky Hall,
Yeah.
and you're going to hand them out at band concerts.
Yeah.
That's the way. A band concert.
Okay. That answers that question. I'll come around the table. Martin.
I did speak to Simon about this earlier, because I didn't want to passionately. But I sort of wonder why we're bringing this to council, because we had a all singing and dancing printer that we invested in to do these things, and we now have an office assistant, and really we can surely, with the clerk's authority, buy packets of A5 paper and whiz out as many as Sally Ann wants, because I don't actually believe that 250 is enough. If you get 50 at one band concert, that's gone, and a few round in Victoria also. I'm just wondering if we should just be changing that to authorise the office to print them, because it's 20p a sheet. That's no different to. I think we're paying about 10p, 12p.
Right, okay, we get the idea. I'm just curious. Have you got an example of what these leaflets look like? What resolution? What type of paper? Is it going to be cheap paper like this, or is it going to be glossy, shiny stuff?
Don't ask a technical question.
But I mean, what it is, it might have raised a valid point, but I mean, a printer cartridge, how much does a printer cartridge cost? £25? And I'm just wondering, if it takes 2 printer cartridges, then is it a cost-effective time of the
I'm
clerk?
not talking about using the desktop, I'm talking about using
The
that
photocopier.
printer that we paid for.
Photocopier.
It's a colour photocopier, it does do a
Right, okay.
A5, is that a
You put 2 A5s on an A4, for goodness sake.
Yeah,
Well, the clerk doesn't want to be cutting them, we can buy
Why not?
A5
We've got a
paper and put it
guillotine,
in
I'll
this
give
one.
it to me
Right,
now.
thank you.
For goodness sake.
God, sake.
Anyway.
I'm a church on somebody. Sally, have you thought about having them photocopied on a colour
Could have
photo?
them photocopied.
Is that something that
Way
could be
to
done?
go.
Is that a good use of the office assistant's time?
Yeah, we can, if you design them all, and with the photocopier, the photocopier can produce colour.
Right.
It obviously doesn't design for you, but
Can we get a contract with you?
we can look at that.
Okay.
It's not. That's
Dan.
fine.
You're going to design it?
No, hell no.
Not on this side, and
Obviously, I know that the clerk and assistant have got a lot on, and that is going to be quite a labour-intensive affair. If needs be, I'll come in and do some guillotining for you, or do
Well,
something like
I
that.
think-
I know that's going to be quite a lot.
I think you put it on one and the machine does do it.
Yes,
So that-
yeah.
I thank you very much for that offer. It could be done. But,
Just
okay,
check
so
them.
Sally Ann, would you be happy to give it a go that we print some?
Yes.
So,
That's that.
in the event that there is any expenditure like printer, ink, or anything like that, that can come out of Sally Ann's budget
Yeah,
still,
and
can't it?
what about? Did you
Yeah.
want any kind of Oh, I suppose it's just normal paper, is it?
Yeah.
You should send a flyer, isn't it?
If you send it through, then that's fine.
Can you get them done for Sunday?
No.
You could.
I've got enough to do on Sunday.
Lots of organisations.
There's a brilliant. We could scan it. We could scan it and email it as well. Bearing in mind that the GDPR, we have to permission to email people these days. Actually, just have thought about that. That's a bit of a pain, but it's a good idea though. Right, I think then going back to this paper, back in the room as they say, should we, rather than not vote on this, should we just we'll discard the paper for now.
We'll note it.
We'll note it because an alternative solution has been brought to the fore.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's all right, Martin. I'll get mine back on the meter.
So if you send it through, then Sally-Ann.
Please, if you can. Right, 18 Bouncy Castle. Can you blow one of these up as well in the office, please?
Can you provide one of those as well?
Sally-Ann, home to you.
Right, it's what it says on the paper, really.
All right.
I'd like to have a bouncy castle at the band concerts. I have found somebody who is willing to do it. If possible, because we will be charging them £25 to stand this thing here, which somebody's worked out for me is £275.
Right.
For the last band concert, in previous years we have had a free bouncy castle. Could we use the money that we raise during the year with the bouncy castle? Can we pay for the bouncy castle?
You could bring that as a separate paper on.
Yeah.
Well,
But
if you're
would we
going to
be able
be
to
generating
do
income.
It depends whether you make enough money.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Right, I'll go around the table. Dave, you wanted to say something?
No, Nick.
Right, Nick then. Thank you.
Obviously, bouncy castles have made it into the news
Headlines.
in the last few
Tragically
months.
they have.
We need to make sure that whoever you engaged has full insurance,
We've got all
complete
that.
the risk assessment,
And pegged down.
and it's very clear where the line of responsibility is. Please, thank you.
Yes, because I believe there's a legal claim going through at the moment for late night shopping, isn't there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What, here?
No.
In Oakham.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of them were quite tatty, so I was hoping it was going to be a good one.
Okay. Well,
There's on the late night shopping, I believe there's an incident where a member of the public has now made a claim against the town partnership. That's what I've been told. So it happens in other towns and it's happening here.
Yes.
But Alison has been really good at showing due diligence to make sure that's brilliant. So we're looking for a proposal. This goes ahead, proposed by Sally-Ann, seconded by Martin. All those in favour?
Yes.
Unanimous. Yes, Nick? Yeah.
What about the last one
And
then?
Nick was abstaining.
I'm in credit now, so.
Well, it's only proposal for the
The
benefit.
next one.
Right, so this one,
Yeah,
three
yeah.
charges.
That'll have to come back,
Separate,
yeah. So there was one abstention.
So it's 9-1.
9-1, yeah. Yeah, to reference your the thing about having a free bouncy castle at the end, can we bring that back as a separate
Yeah, that's
paper,
fine.
please, because it wasn't on here.
No, that's fine.
19, permission to give the PPWG to erect bunting on the railings round the park. There's no paper for this, I don't think, so
No.
it's pretty straightforward. It's zero cost because Sally-Ann and willing volunteers are going to do it.
He doesn't know yet, but...
Martin, are you proposing this?
Can
Well, I'm going to take comments in a minute.
Yeah.
So there's a comment.
Oh, shoot.
Well, I didn't understand why it's been brought to council. It's always been done.
Because in our standing
Councillor
orders-
Lucas and Bob have done it, and it's just making the park look nice for an event.
Standing orders state that before any councillor can do anything, they have to have permission of the council now.
Oh, so
That's
the
why I brought my
previous one
paper.
was being bad.
No. I think it's just a...
That's stifling initiative, actually. But what I really have concern about is that it was taken down by an ex-councillor and thrown on an earth floor. Has it been washed? Because all the bunting down Station Road gets sap off the trees and it needs washing.
I believe The bunting that was put up in the town is the bunting that was thrown on the floor.
Correct.
No. This was taken down during a band concert because I was there.
Yes.
And the bunting, that's what I'm saying, the bunting around the park was taken down during a band concert. I went into the shelter, the bunting was on the floor in a corner on the left hand side, and it's an earth floor, and it needs washing.
But I still believe that's what went up and fell down.
Well, I think the message that I'm picking up is, can we make sure, and I'm sure that you will, that the bunting is clean, and that when it is taken down, that it's clean and hung up appropriately.
And it is a big job to clean it because I've done it for 5 years.
Sally Ann, don't ask for any money for washing it either.
No,
just get it clean.
No, yeah, just get it clean. No. Anyway, any other comments or observations about the bunting around the park?
I don't know.
Proposed by Sally Ann, seconded by Peter. All those in favour? That's unanimous then. And you've got some free cable ties, didn't you?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you see. Did my bit.
If you want any more, let me know.
Right, item 20. This is nice. This is a nice contentious issue. We have a vacancy, only one, on the council, and this is we have now, the time has passed. Nobody called a by-election, so we can now co-opt. Now, do the council first of all want to co-opt? Secondly, do we want to go through the rigmarole of the co-option process, or do we want to just ask people to write in with a letter and the whole council make a decision on that?
Suspend standing order.
And we'd have to suspend the standing order to do that, right? Because the standing orders state that we must set up a committee, they must do interviews, they must recommend 4 people, blah blah blah. If we choose not to do that and just say, right, we've only got 11 months before the end of the year, do we just want to advertise in the paper, or write to the people? Because that's right, we've already got one person. We've got 2 people that are interested. Just ask them to submit a short letter saying why they should be considered, and then the council vote on the July meeting. All right, I'll open it up. Martin, Michael.
Well, you know what I'm going to say. There are 2 people interested. Why didn't they call an election?
Yes.
It's to me, it's the wrong way to option. And what I'm also concerned about is this business of quality council, the balance. We have too many, I think, co-opted. I don't know whether we're going to tip the balance and not. So I think these 2 people, because it happened once before, just because the deadline's passed, they need to be told if they want to be a councillor, they go to the returning officer with their letter with 10 people from the ward who want to call an election. I don't think we should just co-opt them, because that's not our job. When there's 2, it's different if they came months down the line, but they've indicated in the time when an election should be called that they want to come on this council. So they're trying to avoid the thing, and it shouldn't be our decision which of those come. It should be the electorate.
That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, because we have a co-option process.
There are 2 people who have avoided the electoral procedure.
Yeah. Right, the election threshold has passed.
Yeah, but these people have expressed an interest, even to me.
Right.
I know people who have
Are you saying we insist that they go and call an election?
Yes, because that's the democratic process.
No, we can't, that's
the 14 days is
the 14 days on calling it.
We can turn around as a council tonight and say we're not going to co-opt. Now they can overrule that by going and calling an election like they should have done. So that's all I'm asking the council to consider.
I'm fine with you saying that. I will point out to the council that if we insist that an election is called...
No, we don't insist. We just say no, we're not going to co-opt.
We encourage them to cause a by-election. It will incur a £2,000 bill to the taxpayer.
Yes, it will.
But it's the only correct way of doing it.
Hang on a minute. No. It's not the only correct way. That's why you have co-op. You've got elections and co-option processes. 2 ways. Peter.
Yes, thank you. Yes, we're 10 or 11 months away from an election, we hope, next May. And I think we should be looking ahead. We need to keep the full complement. I think we should have an open event, encourage new councillors, So when it comes to next May, we don't have the problem that we've only got 10, 11 or 12. let's have 15 or 20, let's have a proper election, like the county council.
Yes.
Yes.
Then this quality council business, it could be an issue. You know, I'm co-opted, I think half of us are co-opted, but, you know, let's look ahead.
So
what are you proposing?
he's not.
We co-opt. We co-opt.
Okay, right, Nick.
I second Peter Arndt, and I believe we should move on to co-option.
What, the co-option process or the co-option interview? Co-option letter.
The co-option change, as described, I think it takes too long to do the interview process. I think the suggestion table
We've done it
makes
before.
sense.
Okay, well, and the thing is, I just want to clarify, because I don't want...
It's 11 months.
Because Martin, I mean, you made some very valid points, Martin. I want to just cover that down very briefly. Yes, it would be ideal if people would do an election. I mean, when I went to RCC, there was an election called, and I stood up and I took a gamble. But there are two processes. There is elections, and if we don't get people that, for whatever reason, don't call election, then we have the co-option fallback. Just to cover the bit on the quality council or that status that we have. When we achieved that status, we achieved it nearly 4 years ago when we had the qualified clerk, which was Mr. White, and we had an election where we had 2/3 of the council elected. The minute you achieve that at that election point, it's set. We've said this before. It is set in stone, and this was checked by Mr. Plum, Malcolm Plum. I'm not making this isn't a game of Cluedo. And what it is, this was checked. The quality status is in place until 2019. If at the election in 2019 we do not have a qualified clerk, or we do have a qualified clerk but we don't get 2/3 elected, then it all crashes and burns for us. So yes, Peter's exactly spot on. You're correct as well. We need to have at least 2/3 elected in 2019, and ideally we want 12 elected in 2019. And with a qualified clerk, we retain that quality status council, which means we get higher percentages from what is known as the S106 money. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. So I appreciate the enthusiasm, but let's be 100% correct. Two processes. Elections doesn't work. Co-option, we've got 11 months. Let's get somebody on board. So it was proposed by Peter that we go with the co-option process, and Nick was that we'd have to suspend the standing orders and go for one where we invite any interested parties to write in with a letter, and then at the July meeting, these councillors will make a decision, probably based on a sealed ballot or something. Does that sound? Is that happy with your proposal? Yeah. All those in favour of that? So we're gonna co-opt.
Yeah.
But we're going to do it by suspension of standing orders. I'll come to you in a minute. Where we do it, where they submit letters of interest, and the council make a decision on the 11th based on their letters.
So on the 11th of
11th.
July.
Is it 11th of July that we have the next meeting? Martin, you want to add something?
Can we add about advertising it? Because I don't want it to just be those two people who haven't called an election.
Council happy that we advertise in the Rutland Times?
Yeah.
And also on notice boards.
And notice boards. And
website.
expenditure for advertising is going to be, what is it, £200 or 174? What's your band concerts cost?
275 last time, wasn't it?
Right, so an expenditure of out of the publicity budget of 275 or £300.
We've got advertising
budget.
Advertising
Well, you
budget.
saved it on the leaflets, haven't you?
It'll come out of the advertising, yeah, or we've got an election.
Martin.
Can I add that you speak to Rutland Radio and promote the council and the need?
Oh, I'll try. Yeah.
Rob would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the chairman will speak to it. So that's the whole proposal. You've more or less got it, haven't you? We're going to suspend standing orders. We're going to advertise it like chuff. 11th of July. Whoever's shown an interest, we'll look at their details. Whenever you put the details around to the councillors, can you block out personal addresses at that point? Proposed by those two gentlemen down there. All those in favour? It's got to be unanimous, isn't it? Yes. No, it's not. Jean, are you abstaining or against?
No, I'm against it.
And one against. I do apologise for against. I know that it's not ideal. But let's see what happens next, May.
So the expenditure.
Oh, and
Just up to 500. I don't think it's going to be
yeah.
that.
So are you happy with the expenditures covered in that as well at 300 or 500?
We'll say up to 300.
I would suggest you comes out of the electric budget.
Yeah, up to 500.
Yeah, up to 500 out of the election budget.
How we should
Yeah.
do it, and
Yeah.
the interview process is
Someone
direct.
finance working
There's a
group.
lot of stuff that we
Good job
have
you're here.
with the
Well done.
supply,
I pay
and we've had-
attention.
Right, moving on. Item 21, sorry, it's got right. Right. This is to decide whether to exempt press and public because it's going to be discussing personal matters. So, Sally-Ann?
Yeah, I will.
Proposed by Sally-Ann we exempt press and public, seconded by Councillor Romney. All those in favour of the press and public exempt? Unanimous. So 22 then, self-explanatory. Are you
He hasn't
saying?
turned his